Some more questions here. Todd asks, can we integrate it with Active Directory? So Todd, it's got, not yet, but you will be able to. There is LDAP integration for user account creation, so you can easily push from like a local Active Directory server to create all of your Collaborate clouds in the first instance, and that'll be important as part of initial deployment. And we'll see further AD integration subsequently. Mike's got a question, where do you see this evolving as the cloud model evolves? If you could give more context around that, Mike, that'd be great. I'm not sure if you mean within the SOS product roadmap or what you mean there.
As referencing to a growing telecommuting model?
Okay. So, great question, and it kind of comes in right with this slide as well, so it's good timing. But what we're seeing in the world today in businesses, whether you're operating internationally like SOS does, or if you have one office or like a telecommuting environment, what Collaborate does is no matter what venue or how many different venues you have, it makes the pace of collaborative work, so working on similar projects, much faster, more organized, and with much less effort. Before, there's, many of you probably have naming conventions as we did before using this product, where maybe you have one folder for this one single presentation that you're working on, and it has 15 or 20 different revisions, each with a unique file name. Within Collaborate, not only do we not have to worry about renaming and keeping track of those as people make changes at the same time, but it doesn't matter which office we're working in, whether we're from home, within the same office here in Los Angeles, or if we're collaborating with some of our team members in Kiev or in Australia. So as far as how the cloud turns to evolve, what we're looking at is we're really looking at taking this tool with project management in mind, so adding task lists, schedules, those types of items would be really nice, and it's really what we're looking forward to adding later on.
Right, and more on that in just a little minute, actually. In terms of how this is going to work from a business standpoint, one of the very cool things about Collaborate is it's a self-proliferating technology. What I mean by that is this. You sell online backup. Generally, there's an IT guy at the other end of that transaction who then manages it and is loath to push that technology out to every desktop. We've been beating the drum for years that online backup should be deployed down to every single desk, but it's still not happening in a real-life look at what's going on in the online backup community. It's still being deployed centrally by IT. Collaborate is inverted in that. Going back to that key usage concept from earlier, Collaborate is more useful the more people that you have in it. It's like a social network in that respect. Facebook's no fun if you've got no friends. And Collaborate's the same. It becomes a useful tool as you use it with more and more and more users. So its nature is that it's constantly self-proliferating. One user invites another user who invites another user. You start to get a network effect of users and the number of seats that are on your license. Why do you care about that? Because it makes sales and marketing so much easier. This is a product that sells itself. And as you distribute your free trials to your customers and as your customers invite more users into your network, all you have to do is fuel that fire. This is not something where you need to sit down and go through a long sales cycle every time a new user is going to come onto your system. So today, when you sell backup to customer A of yours, that's generally a pretty discreet effort. Most of our partners tell us that they're not just throwing this up on their website and the masses are coming to their site and buying online backup in droves. It's still very much a relationship-driven sale. Collaborate is on the other end of that spectrum. It is a far more of an auto-selling product than our backup technology is. I think that's vital to the models we're going to see in terms of the network effect of distribution and the way that plays out through your customer base. So to these bullet points here, every time a user shares a file or more specifically collaborates with non-users, there's an easy opportunity for that additional user to come into the product and start using the product. In terms of how this is going to help you, one of the things we really want to encourage is for every single person who's here today to use the product yourself, and we'll have information on how you can get those accounts at the end of this presentation. All right, so this is, you've all seen the SOS ROI models that we do. We've been doing them for years. We've had terrific feedback around our ROI models as a great way to give our partners a sense of the business of backup and how to get into it. So we're building new models that we'll distribute to you all for Collaborate, so you can see that the way Collaborate is going to work from a P&L and a revenue standpoint. This is really a slide I think everybody wants to pay attention to and ask questions about. So I'll turn it over to Jeff to talk through the way this model works.
Yeah, basically the way that we have our pricing structure is very in line with our core belief that simple is best. As Ken had mentioned earlier in the presentation, this is a very much user-oriented type of program. So you can see on the right middle, we have the available plans under this white label program that you can select from. So it's all based on the number of users, and it doesn't have to be in one company, 5 companies, any number of companies. It's just the aggregate number of users that you have signed up. And when we look at what is the return expected on the investment, number one, and especially from my area of responsibility, which is sales, we understand that this is not philanthropy for anybody. If this is not a revenue generator for you, a profitability generator for you, then it's of no value. So this is a way to get a quick snapshot of what is expected for me within the type of plan that I have given my customer base. So if we look at the green boxes up front, we see the total number of companies. That's how many companies do you do business with right now? And it's a rough number. I always encourage being highly conservative when it comes to these ROI calculations. And then you have the conversion rate. Of those companies, roughly what percentage of them will you be able to penetrate with a collaboration account? Then the next column over, number of users per company, is roughly how many users are within your average company. And then the other category will populate itself. That just calculates how many total users you will need. And then what do you plan to sell this for? You know, we have it pre-populated with the industry norm that we have done research to uncover, which is roughly $15 per user. And as we look in this model, which is a lower end of the spectrum model, there's 50 companies, 20% conversion. So that says that of those 50 companies, 10 will tell you yes. 5 users per company, so you need 50 users total. You can see from the available plan, that'll cost just over $3,600 a year. At your charge of $15 per user, your top line will be $9,000, which is 60% profit. So on an annualized basis, you're going to make just light of $5,400 within that model.
Right. And if I may, just some overlay comments. So one, we're trying to make this consistent with your existing SOS relationship, and it's already got some key elements to it. Firstly, it's always branded for you. So most of you here today, the vast preponderance of you, are running a white labeled version of SOS's technology. Secondly, you own the customer relationship. That's something we deeply respect here at SOS, and all of our products are geared toward preserving that. So thirdly, we've always tried to allow you to make more than 50% gross margin on products sold, which is unusual in the industry, but it's something we're deeply committed to. I've said it many times before, and I'll say it many times again. We are only successful when our partners are successful. So we have great incentive to see you to drive this product into your customer base, which is why we've worked so hard to keep the cost to you down and allow you to make a 60% gross margin right out of the gate. Also typical with SOS partner programs, the more you buy, the better the margin is that you'll get. So bulk purchasing will be rewarded with margin. In terms of some just points of, well, again, just points of discussion, 50 companies is about middle of the road in terms of our partners. There are partners here today who've got thousands of customers. There are partners here today who are single-man IT shops with 5 to 10 partners, but 50 is very much middle of the road. Your conversion rate of 20% is low. So in terms of being able to only get 1 in 5 of your customers to adopt this tool, this is a far more broad market application. So what I mean by this, backup is still very nerdy. I say that as a backup engineer. it is still very much a very nerdy product segment, and it is not broadly attractive to typical business users and executives. So picking on Derek again, Derek here is an employee at SOS. If we weren't a backup company, he would never go out and buy SOS Online Backup to be used here at the company. Why? Because that's above his pay grade. He doesn't make decisions about SOS's backup management. Derek might go out and buy SOS Collaborate. So one of the things we're seeing in the market is